Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into one of the most epic origin stories in all of gaming, the creation of the Warcraft universe. And look, let's just forget about the Horde and the Alliance for a minute. We're going way, way back. Before the gods, before the monsters, before reality itself even had a shape. Right, so to really understand the non-stop battles for Azeroth, we have to rewind the clock. I mean, really rewind it. Back to a time before the universe, before planets or stars, back to before basically anything we'd recognize as, well, anything. So our story kicks off with the two most fundamental forces of creation itself. They were locked in this eternal opposition that, believe it or not, would end up giving birth to absolutely everything. Before the cosmos even existed, there was just the light. Imagine a huge, endless sea of pure joy and hope. But as this light expanded, it naturally left these pockets of, well, nothing in its wake. And from that absence, the void was born. It was this dark, kind of vampiric force with just one goal: to consume all energy. So when these two polar opposite forces inevitably smashed into each other, the result was a series of explosions so huge they literally tore open the fabric of creation. And out of that violence, two totally different realms were born. You have the physical universe, which we know as the Great Beyond, and then you have this chaotic, messy dimension of unstable magic called the Twisting Nether. So, from this wild cosmic birth, the first real consciousness started to emerge. And these weren't just creatures. No, they were cosmic beings, born with this grand purpose that would end up shaping the destiny of every single world to come. Okay, so you've got these little shards of pure light that gathered together deep inside the cores of a few super rare planets. These formed what are called world souls. And after sleeping for eons, these spirits would wake up, not as just planets, but as living cosmic beings with incredible power. We call them the Titans. Now, the very first Titan to wake up, a guy named Aman'Thul, found himself completely alone in this massive universe. And that loneliness basically kicked off a quest to find others like him. He sought out and helped awaken other world souls, and together, these new Titans formed the Pantheon. They were a council totally obsessed with one thing: bringing absolute order to a chaotic universe, and of course, finding the rest of their sleeping family. And the Pantheon, they didn't just wing it. Oh, no. Their approach was super methodical, almost like a science experiment. They had this three-step plan for every single world they found that had a sleeping soul inside. First, they'd calm down the crazy native elementals. Second, they'd literally reshape the mountains and oceans. And finally, they'd seed new life all over the planet, all in the name of nurturing that baby spirit within. But here's the thing. While the Pantheon is busy color-coding the universe and making everything neat and tidy, they had no idea that two gigantic threats were lurking in the shadows of creation, both with plans that were the exact opposite of their own. From way out in the void, these monstrous beings called Void Lords were watching the Titans, and they were jealous. They couldn't actually enter the physical universe themselves, so they came up with this really nasty plan. They would find a sleeping baby Titan, corrupt it, and twist it into their own unstoppable dark champion. And how are they going to do that? Well, to pull it off, the Void Lords created these parasitic creatures made of pure shadow, beings we now know as the Old Gods. They then just yeeted these monsters across the cosmos, pretty much blind, just hoping that they would crash into a planet, burrow down deep, and infect a sleeping world soul. And at the very same time, the Pantheon was dealing with a much more immediate problem spilling out of the Twisting Nether: demons. These things were just chaotic beings of pure destruction. They used this volatile fell magic, and all they wanted to do was annihilate every living thing. So, to fight this growing demon problem, the Pantheon turned to their greatest, most noble warrior. And this one decision, would kick off a tragic chain of events that was going to change the fate of the universe forever. That warrior's name was Sargeras. He had courage and strength like no other, and he was chosen to be the Pantheon's champion. For ages and ages, he traveled the cosmos, fighting to protect all these new little civilizations from the demon hordes. You know, Sargeras' fall from grace is just a classic tragedy. He starts out as the noble champion, the ultimate protector. But then he makes this horrifying discovery about the Void Lords and their plan. This leads him to make a terrible choice. He shatters an entire corrupted world, killing the baby Titan inside. And when his own kind didn't understand, he finally broke away from them, which set him on the path to his ultimate betrayal. And this is where you can see how a good intention can twist into something terrifying. Sargeras came to a chilling conclusion. Existence itself was flawed. He decided the only way to save the universe from the void was to burn it all down. To him, a silent, empty, lifeless universe was way better than one ruled by shadow. So when Sargeras pitched his let's burn everything plan to the rest of the Pantheon, they were understandably horrified. He took this as a complete and utter betrayal. He stormed away from them, basically vowing that if they weren't going to see his twisted logic, he would stop the Void's corruption his own way. So, as Sargeras begins his lonely dark crusade, the stage is getting set for the next huge conflict. His former second-in-command, a Titan named Agrimar, made a discovery that was about to change absolutely everything. While he was out on his journeys, Agrimar sensed these quiet dreams from a sleeping world soul, and this spirit, it felt stronger, it had more potential than any other they had ever found before. This nascent Titan would one day be known by the name Azeroth. But when Agrimar arrived, it was a complete nightmare. The old gods had already found this world. They had embedded themselves deep into the planet, and their corrupting influence had created this vast, horrifying kingdom of shadow known as the Black Empire. Agrimar raced back to the Pantheon, and when they heard about this world soul's immense potential, that this could be the one being powerful enough to finally beat the Void Lords, they all agreed instantly. They would save Azeroth, no matter what it took. But the Titans themselves were way too big to fight on the planet without accidentally destroying the very soul they were trying to save. So they created a powerful army of constructs, the Titan Forged, and they put them under the command of powerful keepers who were filled with their own essences. We're talking about commanders like Highkeeper Ra, Odin, Freya, and the greatest warrior of them all, Tyr. And that brings us right to the edge of a massive war. You've got the Pantheon's army of order ready to clash with the old god's festering army of shadow. The fate of the most powerful soul in the entire universe is hanging in the balance, which leaves us with one single crucial question.